Welcome to the Nova Hoopcast. We are here at the Riverside Library. So this is what a library looks like. I've heard of these rooms before.
You know, it's different than it used to be. You come into a library nowadays, and it used to be a quiet thing, but now the library is where you're building things, you're engaging, you're using teamwork. So that's the philosophy
You
of a
sound like
library.
such an athletic educational
That's right.
administrator
It's
right
about
now.
the kids, doing things with their hands and working in teams. So it's a very different. This is very lively place during the day.
It's nice to know there still are some books in libraries.
I know. It's a
'Cause,
huge space.
We go to a library in 10 years from now, there won't be books anymore, I don't
Yeah,
think.
there might be some band books here too, but we can't go into that.
Jeez. Okay. Hey, last week, I just want to say our coaches panel last week was really cool. And I had a lot of people come up to me during the week and say they really enjoyed seeing that.
Well, I think we had three great guests
Yeah.
with a lot of different experiences, and I think we could do that for hours and
Oh, yeah.
hours. But we talked a little bit at the end of the show about maybe inviting some coaches back to talk about regional championships, state contenders, that kind of thing. So we'll do that again, but definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, and talking about contenders and championships, I mean, it's almost here.
Oh man.
Yeah, and as a coach, you know how it is. It's like you blink and all of a sudden you're in like that your last week or two. And you're like, oh my gosh, the playoffs are right around the corner.
Right.
So here we are, and there'll be some really pivotal games coming up in the next week or two.
Well, it's all about these last couple district
Yeah.
games and fighting for seeding in the tournament, and everyone knows everybody, what they have, their style, that kind of thing. So I think
Right.
these are wars. These are very good games to watch, and a lot of good district play coming up this week.
Yeah. So I wrote down a number of games that caught my eye from last week, Kevin. Two off the bat. This was really interesting. Falls Church and Wakefield played like back-to-back games.
Back-to-back,
I think
yeah.
on Monday and Wednesday. I think, and so Falls Church won the first one 56-54, and then Wakefield won 64-56. I think one was a makeup game.
Sure.
But that's kind of interesting because you don't. The only time you really ever see that in high school, if you don't have makeup games or snow days or whatever, is sometimes end of the regular season, first round of the playoffs. So it's just interesting to play the same team that close together.
And I think Falls Church is one of the big stories
Yeah,
of
they're
the
good.
season. We talked about them 2 weeks ago before our coaches panel, and they put together a small streak of wins, but it was, I think, against a team they should have beat. But then here they knock off Wakefield, which
Right.
I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Is probably one of the biggest wins they've had in the last couple of years, and then they've got to play them the next night. So they're definitely a contender in that district, and I wish them a lot of luck. They haven't had a ton of success over the last couple of years, but a very proud community. We talked about the community at Wakefield and
Right.
at Herndon. There's definitely a community there. Falls Church, it's one of the older schools, and I wish them the best of luck. And Coach K-Make's doing a great job.
Yeah, it's great to see. Good story. So it'll be really fun to watch them. They'll be one of those teams that nobody wants to play, I think, in the playoffs.
I'll be rooting for them, that's for sure.
Yeah. A couple other games caught my eye, and Kevin, chime in. Potomac Falls over Riverside, 54-51. Riverside's interesting to me because I think their record isn't great, but
9-9 right now. I
yeah.
think.
But like a lot of the teams in Loudon, they can beat anybody. And there's another game from last week that we'll talk about with them.
Yeah, they're like everyone in that district. Anyone
Yeah.
can win that district, whether it be Stonebridge, Briar Woods, Freedom, Riverside. God, who am I? I'm probably forgetting someone else in there too. But there's 5 or 6 teams who can. Rockridge
Right.
can definitely get it done. Rockridge actually playing very well last night. Put it on the Rams last week, but the Rams were up in that game against Potomac Falls, and Landon Hawes, comes down. They were down 1, hits a shot. Bo Everett, who's a very good player for the Rams, comes back and misses a shot, but it was a very, very close game, and a lot of fun to watch. That Potomac district's going to be real exciting.
Another Loudoun County matchup earlier in the week. County beat Broad Run.
Mm-hmm.
County had an interesting week as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Battlefield over Champ. There's another league where they're just beating up on each other. Patriot, I think, is probably
They're in control, but
yeah.
you wouldn't be surprised if Champ won or Battlefield won, or maybe even that competitive Osborne team sneaking in there. So a lot of contenders for sure.
right. 2 other games from earlier in the week. Patriot over Osborne in the same league there. Osborne a little bit down from where they've been the past few years, but they're going to battle every night. W&L beats Yorktown 65-63. We talk a lot about rivalry games, and like any of those Arlington matchups, there's really only 3 teams in Arlington, so those are always rivalry games. Anthony Reyes with a buzzer beater, and I had in my notes later on, Reyes also with a milestone, scoring his 1,000th point for WNL.
Huge crowd there,
yeah.
and I think that's the second time that WNL has beaten Yorktown this year.
Yeah.
And I saw a tweet from one of the WNL fans saying this is the biggest crowd they've seen in
Right.
a long, long time. So it's exciting to have basketball. That's always been a rivalry, but I don't think the teams have been as good
Right.
lately, so it hasn't been as fun, but both teams are good and big crowds, which are great for kids.
Yeah, and as we see many times over the years, like Yorktown playing that fast-paced style, they're not able to score as much when they get into district play and teams have a book on them. You know, they got a scouting report and they have
Yeah.
a game plan. So I'm sure that was a great environment as well. Then some Friday games. Kevin, you want to go through any of those Friday
Sure.
games?
I mean, we'll start with Freedom, Riverside. The Riverside was at Freedom. We mentioned Riverside already tonight, but they went into a 3 overtime game at Freedom, and Riverside does win that game. That's the second time they've beaten Freedom. And for whatever reason, I don't know if, and I think in that district it could come down to matchups. What you
Right,
have
right.
matches up better with another team, and I think Riverside does match up very well with Freedom and took them down for their second win of the season against the Eagles. Independence, a team we haven't talked about a whole lot this year. It's a brand new school here in Loudon, but they put together a nice game and beat Heritage, and they've actually won a couple games here
Yeah,
recently. They beat Broad Run.
Right. I think they won 2 out of 3.
Yes.
I think they lost to Valley during the week.
And all, no seniors, 1 or 2 juniors,
Right.
a lot of freshmen and sophomore, but very talented, and they have a bright future ahead of them. Then here in Loudoun County, probably the biggest game on Friday night was Loudoun County at Loudoun Valley. Both teams were undefeated in the Dulles District, and that was won by Loudoun County, 54-46, and Matt Anderson had a big night with 21 points. Mark Siegel put together a very good game, and Valley very strong. Could still win it. I would say it's kind of a 3-team race between County, Valley, and Dominion, but all 3 of the teams could get it done.
Yeah, a good week for County for sure. Let's move over to Fairfax County. Marshall, who Jerry, everybody knows Jerry, our friend Jerry, in his first year leading Marshall with a big win over TJ by 25. Probably much needed, and we know Mark as well at TJ.
Yes, much needed for both of them, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, and they're they coach AAU together. They're friends, so we've experienced that coaching against each other. But a big win for the Statesmen, 66-41. Centerville over Westfield, 75-50, and Centerville's ranked in, certainly Chris Jolly has them ranked. They're also ranked in the Washington Post. They've had some ups and downs in terms of people in and out of the lineup. Obviously, Chris Kozemka's been out all year. I think Makai Washington's missed a couple of games. Lance Douglas has been out for a while. I did speak to Kevin Harris yesterday, so I think Lance will be coming back shortly.
Good. You hate to see anybody miss.
Right, but through all of it, Centerville kind of continues to win, and even though they are ranked, I don't feel like they. I feel like they're doing a little bit quietly.
Yeah, who's the shooter they've had? He's had a pretty good year.
John Hunter.
John
Yeah.
Hunter. I think he's been quietly putting up numbers. Definitely
Right.
can shoot the 3 ball.
Right.
So good for Centerville. Hanging in there despite some ups and downs with personnel.
Right.
I'll bring this up because you coach at Fairfax. You guys had a nice win, 70-56 over Robinson, who is getting back, another injured kid who's
Right.
been out for them. Drew Rowson got to play,
Yeah.
and one of the better players there at Robinson, but a very solid win for you guys. And we'll talk about what you have coming up this week, very tough week for you. But I think one of the bigger games in we're calling it Fairfax County, but
Right.
it is technically Alexandria with West Potomac playing TC. And West Potomac, a team ranked in Nova Hoops, team ranked in the Washington Post,
Right.
goes down 57-51 to TC. So that's a very good win for TC, Coach Darryl Prue's team.
Yeah, I think West Potomac had kind of established themselves as the clear best team in that league, but TC might be coming on right now, and obviously they served notice in that game. A couple other games, Prince William Battlefield over Osborne, 38-26. Who knows what happened exactly in that game? I don't know if it was great defense or bad offense or a combination of the two. and then Champ over OP 66-55. So a lot of good games last week, and this is that point, like you said earlier, you're kind of jockeying for seeding and buys, and I know all district tournaments have all kinds of different formats,
Right.
but these games mean a lot, and you can go into a game knowing, if we win, we can finish as high as 2. If we lose, we can finish as low as 5 or 6, and so there's a lot at stake when you play these late season games.
Definitely a lot of coaches out there working on, their brackets in terms of district play and what they need to do to get
Right.
the home game. Nobody wants to play on the road in a district tournament. So it might be helpful for people out there to go through the district races. I know we mentioned them real
Right.
quickly, but let's go through the top 1, 2, 3 teams in each district who we think might kind of prevail here at the end. And Brian, let's start with the Liberty District.
Well, Liberty South Lakes still 6-0, and we talked about W&L with a big win over Yorktown. So they're right behind South Lakes. South Lakes has also had a really nice season. Mike Desmond in his first year. They've got a couple big guys in Jerome Scott and Hassan Kurtu, and they've got Joseph Dagby. We've talked about on this before.
Difference maker.
And I think they play a lot of guys, and they play hard. So I think South Lakes is the clear favorite right now in the Liberty, but W&L.
And Yorktown.
And Yorktown. Yep.
That's a third team there that
Right.
could very well win it. Let's move to the Concord. I'll talk a little bit about that. Our friend Kevin Rollers, 5-0 right now in district play, followed by Centerville, who's 4-1. Both those teams, very well coached.
Right.
At the top of the district right now, but you wouldn't be surprised,
Right.
if they won it or if somebody else came up. But
Yeah, and they play this week, I believe, Madison and
Okay.
Centerville.
okay.
So that's a good battle right there. And again, Madison always plays so hard, and we talked about Centerville kind of continuing to win despite some people in and out of the lineup.
Brian, why don't you talk a little bit about the Patriots, since you probably know that district very well.
Well, it's very interesting because you got 3 teams that are tied for first in Fairfax, Braddock, and South County, and then the other teams, West Springfield, Woodson, and Robinson, are all tied. So 3 teams at 5-1, 3 teams at 1-5. So I don't know that I've seen. I'm sure that's happened before, but I can't remember seeing something like that before in the standings. So Fairfax plays South County and Braddock this week coming up.
Are those home or away games?
We are at Braddock and then home against South County.
That should be a good Friday night game for,
Yeah.
the Rebels.
It should be. So clearly, this time next week, that's just exactly what we're talking about right here. The ties will probably not exist in our league or in those other leagues, but pretty well balanced competitive league for sure.
Gunston, I think we already mentioned, the top 2 teams, West Potomac and TC, and right now TC has that advantage with their last win.
Right.
Moving to Prince William, you have Patriot, who I think has won 11 games in a row, Brian.
Wow.
They started off, I know, with a very difficult non-conference schedule, and now that's paying off. And Rocky Carter was here last week talking to us, and that's a team that he felt, kind of does things the right way.
Right.
Don't have huge names, but just have talent in the program. Zach Blue, their guard, having a really good season, but they lost a lot. They lost
did.
a lot of big names. So a little bit surprising to maybe some of us who don't know Champ as well, but I think they've had a good program. It's solid. It's definitely consistent, but they're right now leading that
Patriot,
Cedar Run.
right,
Yeah.
right. Champ right behind them, and then Battlefield right behind Champ. Not a whole lot in terms of number of wins in the league separating those teams, but I think most of us and the people that we talk to feel like Patriot is in the driver's seat at the moment in that league. The Cardinal, we had a chance to visit with Coach Honore at Potomac. They're 8-1 in their league. Hilton, we haven't talked a lot about this
I
week.
saw
Hilton's
Hilton
won-
play very early
Yeah.
in the year, and they definitely had the talent. It was one of the weirder games I saw all year. They had 1 field goal. This was the game against Riverside in the Heritage Tip-Off Tournament. They had 1 field goal in the first half, and they probably looked as bad as any team that I've seen in high school. And their coach would probably agree with us, Coach Smith. But in the second half, they turned it on, and it was it was down to the wire. So I'm not surprised, but they have been kind of quiet. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But I think Potomac, Rocky said last week in our coaches panel, Potomac's back.
Yeah.
And I think they are. They've got a really nice team this year. Potomac District, I'll mention it and then you can expand on it. I wrote down Stonebridge, Freedom, and Potomac Falls, but as we've talked about all year in Loudon, in both leagues in Loudon, teams just kind of beating up on each other. How do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, you got to mention Rockridge, you got to mention Riverside.
Yeah.
Rockridge knocks off Potomac Falls, and was a tough game for Potomac Falls. We talked to Coach Hawes about that last week, but they rebound, beating Stonebridge. Riverside beats Freedom. I think it comes down to matchups, and I think it's a really interesting, fun league that the top 5 teams can win.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting any money. I couldn't tell you who's going to win.
Right.
I think it's whoever's playing in the district tournament. But definitely a lot of fun to watch. A lot of close games.
Right. We'll go to the National District in a second. Let's stay in Loudon real quick. Dulles, Valley and County, obviously County
Yes.
with a big week. County beat Valley. Dominion's in the mix as well. How do you see the Dulles District?
The top 3 teams, Valley, County, Dominion, anyone could win it. I think Valley's won it a lot, so they have that kind of that championship feel there. I think it's going to be who's playing at home. It used to be you'd play at a neutral site,
Right.
but now I think it's financial. You're playing at whatever the higher seed is. So
Right.
if you play the district championship at any one of those 3 teams, Valley, County, or Dominion, I think that gives you a decisive advantage. So it might come down to something as simple as that. Where is the final being played?
Yeah, it does make a difference, doesn't it? I mean, some teams travel, fan bases travel better than others. But even just, you know how it is, just getting to school at a certain time and having to ride the bus and all of that, as opposed to kind of playing in the comfort of your own gym, it makes a difference. Who knows how much from a point standpoint,
Right.
but you would definitely rather play at home. So let's bounce back over to the National District, which we talked about earlier. Wakefield, Edison Falls Church, all in the mix there. Wakefield, we at Fairfax played them early, and I think they've gotten better, but they're a really good defensive team. They're big and strong and athletic. I don't know that they're as high-powered maybe offensively as they have been in some years, but I tell you what, they're a strong defensive team and on the boards. And I know in past years when we talk about playoffs, sometimes defense ends up winning championships for you. Maybe not as much sometimes in the regular season, but boy, when it comes down sometimes possession by possession
Right.
in those playoff games, defense is at a premium, and Wakefield's very good defensively. So we've talked about all year, I don't think there's dominant teams around here.
No.
And we've had dominant teams some years in the past. So this is going to be really exciting down the stretch, the next week or two of the regular season, and then certainly in the playoffs. And who knows, any one of these teams that we've talked about through the course of the year is capable of getting hot and kind of making a postseason run.
No question.
So there's a quick look at our leagues and kind of where they stand right now. Some upcoming games that again, I jumped out at me a little bit when I looked. You mentioned Fairfax playing Braddock in South County. Colgan and Potomac. Remember
Right, the
when
rematch.
when we spoke to I think when we spoke to Coach Honore, they had lost the night
We talked to them
before
on
maybe,
Sunday,
or,
and they had lost that
They had
Friday
lost to
to a
Colgan.
pretty disciplined Colgan team. So I think Potomac's not going to be surprised, and I
Right.
think they'll be ready for Colgan. But
Right.
could be a great statement game for Colgan.
Yeah.
We didn't mention them in the top of that district, but
Right.
they definitely have some good players.
Right. Edison Wakefield. Edison's been interesting this year, a little bit up and down, but certainly talented. That's a big matchup in the national district. And I think Valley and County play again this
On
week.
Wednesday, at
Yeah.
County,
Yeah.
which if you've ever been to County or Valley, they have very small gyms, and I think that'll be a very good crowd. That might be a game that I go to on Wednesday.
Yeah. A couple other rivalry games, Osborne and OP. And we've
Yes.
talked about Osborne being a little bit down from where they've been the past couple of years, but when you get those two teams together, it's always a great rivalry game. Another rivalry, Hayfield, West Potomac. You talked about TC and West Potomac earlier, so there's another Alexandria area rivalry in Hayfield and West Potomac. Yorktown and South Lakes, a great matchup. I remember when they played earlier, and Yorktown playing their up-tempo style, and when we were out at South Lakes, I think we said to Coach Desmond, you're probably not going to try and slow down
No.
Yorktown. They'll go right at them, so that'll be a good one. And then Freedom South Riding in Potomac Falls this week as well.
Yeah, Coach Hall said they played each other 5 times
Yeah,
last
last
year,
year.
including the state semifinal. So that'll be a war. And like I said, it's really coming down to matchups. That first one was won, I believe, by Potomac Falls. Honestly, I don't know, but it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a battle. They know each other very well.
Right.
And 2 well-coached teams, so that'll
Yeah.
be a fun one here in Loudon.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of great pivotal games coming up in the next week or so. A couple other things I wanted to bring up, Kevin. There was I meant to bring this up last week. There was a freshman and JV tournament
Yeah.
in
Finished
Fairfax
up yesterday.
County.
Yeah.
So Bill Curran, who's the former, I think he was your athletic director
Yes,
at
at
Marshall. He's now the director of activities in Fairfax County, and funded a tournament for just freshman JV teams in Fairfax only. It's a little interesting because it's not the end of the season, so it's not like a postseason tournament,
Right.
because they still have some regular season games left. And Loudon, Prince William, Arlington schools weren't involved, but still an opportunity for all the Fairfax teams to come together.
I know the Loudon schools are very in tune to what's happening in Fairfax
Yeah.
with that tournament and want the same thing.
Okay.
Because, they see that as a great idea for their kids too.
Yeah.
And I saw some video of it. It looked like it was well attended, and I
Yeah.
know some of the high school coaches we know went to watch their team. So.
Right. I had a chance to pop in briefly last weekend down at West Potomac, and then yesterday I stopped into Fairfax for a little while. So on the freshman level, South County won that tournament, and on the JV level, Oakton won that tournament. It had a little bit of an AAU feel because in the gyms they had like 3 games going on at
Right.
a time. But the kids seemed excited, and the parents were supporting it. So the more basketball, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm sure we'll have some people out there in their own counties advocating for it
Yeah.
for next year.
Yeah, that's
Which
how
I
it
don't
works.
blame them. I don't blame them.
Yeah. A couple other agenda items. Kevin, the Nova Challenge is on our radar
Nova
now.
Challenge has finally been posted. Every year we try to secure a gym. We've kind of made the habit of going back between Loudon and Fairfax because that's where it started, just Loudon against Fairfax.
Right.
But we were at Fairfax last year, and Coach Barbie has a new floor. He really wants us to come back, so you work there. So sometimes it's easier when you have a coach and the involved in the event, getting the gym. So we decided to come back to Fairfax. It's going to be Sunday, March 26th, but maybe you want to talk
22nd.
about 22nd. It's the 22nd of March, but there's something new this year that I'm real excited about. Maybe you want to tell everyone about.
Yeah, there's a new rule passed by Virginia High School League that allows underclassmen to play in all-star games. So there's some conditions you have to meet. So we worked with the Virginia High School League to make sure we met those conditions. And so we're excited to announce we're going to have an underclassmen game. And the team will be selected just like the senior all-star game. We'll look at all district teams as selected by coaches, whatever format they use to select their all-district teams. And we'll start with first team, and we'll take juniors, whatever, and we'll have 2 rosters. We're not going to have
Right.
2 games, but we'll have 2 rosters comprised of our whole area of Fairfax, Loudon, Prince William, Arlington, Alexandria. So we'll have an underclassmen game first, then we'll have one of our senior games. We'll have our slam dunk and 3-point, and then we'll have our last senior game. I have been in touch with BJ Kubarulis from DMVstream.com. Once again, we should be the DMVstream.com.
They've been a great partner,
Nova Challenge,
broadcasting the game, very
Right.
professional organization. They've been very lucky to partner with the last couple of years. So excited to have them back.
Yeah, so it should be good, should be live stream. Still having some conversations at Fairfax, but I think we'll again support the Best Buddies program at Fairfax and do some things to support their Special Olympics program. So
Right.
very worthwhile cause. And that's one of the cool things about this game for us is that the entire time we've been able to support charities every year in the local communities, and we'll put more of
We've
that out. Yeah.
reached, I think, well over $12,000 and raised monies that go directly to charities. We're very proud of that. There's a lot of things out there making money.
Right.
A lot of events, unsigned seniors and this and that, and this is really not one of those things. This is just us loving the game of basketball, promoting it in Northern Virginia. And now we want to help the underclassmen because I really feel like if you get underclassmen involved, you get some more college coaches involved because they're really not all recruiting seniors,
Right.
But they will be there for the seniors as well. We've always had a good turnout by college coaches, but now they've got another reason to come, which I hope will draw in some more people to look at our kids.
Yeah, and I'll say, Kevin, we'll pat ourselves on the back a little bit. We have a good network. You know, we're old guys, and then the young coaches that we have involved are also very much connected to the area college coaches, and so so that helps a lot draw college coaches. And I know you've kind of taken the lead on getting the word out to college coaches, but we've had good representation
And we
from
have.
regional
We have,
college
and
coaches.
we've done our very best to avoid some other events. There's a
Right.
big one out in Hagerstown.
Yep.
There's events all across the area, but ours, I think, is the only one on the 22nd, so we're trying to maximize participation. So
Right.
be looking forward to that. Go to our website, www.novachallenge.com.
Hey, Kevin, one other thing I want to bring up before we wrap it up for today, and I meant to bring this up last week. One of our old colleagues here in the Northern Virginia area, Gary Hall, longtime coach at Herndon High School, two-time coach at Herndon High School,
Yeah,
also coached
was
at
there, left,
Middleburg,
and came back, yeah.
moved down to Texas, coached at a public school, I believe, in Texas for a while, and now he's at, I think it's St. Thomas
Yes.
Aquinas in the Houston area, has been selected to coach in the McDonald's All-American game in Houston. So congratulations to Gary. Really cool
Yeah.
to see one of the guys around here. And I know I feel, and I'm sure you do too, in my head coaching days, the caliber of coaching in this area has always been very good. So great to see him get recognized in that way.
That's a big deal. That's a
it
big
is.
deal. I know
Yeah.
those nominations came out, and we did have some people from our area get nominated.
Right.
Not selected, but definitely nominated.
Right.
And for him to be the coach, and I know he's a Texas guy now, but he was here for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Went to Herndon High School, coached at South Lakes. As you mentioned, twice the coach at Herndon. So definitely a Northern Virginia guy, and we'd love to, we'll interview him next week
Yep.
and hear what he's up to and hear him talk about maybe the differences between Texas and Northern Virginia. And I say we pick him up, Brian. I got an idea about picking him up and doing the interview in a car.
Like comedians in car or
Coaches in cars getting Diet Coke is what we probably will do, because neither one
We
of
will
us
take your sponsorship
yeah,
if you want to give
we
it to
don't
us.
drink coffee, so I'd like to throw it out there. Kevin hopefully can make it work. Buster, our behind-the-scenes guy.
So Coach Hall he'll be in the area because Herndon,
renovating.
some of you know they're undergoing renovation. It's just getting started. And so I think next Friday night is the last game in the
that's home
Hornets
game.
Nest before they start their renovation. So they invited Coach Hall to come back up and be present for that game, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
So hopefully we can work it all out and have him in the car, and
We'll see.
we'll let him get whatever type of caffeine he
We'll
wants.
see. Buster's got a week to think about it, so he'll make it happen, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So here we are, last week, week and a half of regular season. Next time we're on, I don't know if we'll touch on any of this when we're in the car getting our caffeine with Gary, but we'll have a better idea of standings and pairings as we kind of get really close to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
Exciting
cool.
time.
Okay, I'm going to read a book here in a second.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a nap. I'm not feeling
Okay.
great, but
All right.
it
Good.
is the grind season, Brian. It
Keep
is
grinding.
yeah.
Keep grinding.
I hate that, and I hate #blessed. Those are my two. We're going to go over pet peeves, but
All right.
good episode. Thank you, Buster. We'll see you guys next week.